What's up guys, Ben here bringing you another video today. Yesterday was the reveal stream for Modern Warfare 2. You had about 100 plus influencers, pros, Warzone players, etc. Head off to California, LA specifically to go ahead and play the new game. They played Warzone, they played multiplayer. I'm gonna go ahead and watch some of that content back and talk a little bit about my reactions to it, but also frame some key questions I have going these 2 weekends of the beta as we start to get a better sense of what this game will play like. Let's dive in. So we're watching some gameplay from Zoomy here from yesterday, and I've kind of split my questions into 5 different categories, so let's jump in. The first one's about gunplay. I think this is outside of maps, probably the most important thing in Call of Duty is does the game feel fun to play? My initial reactions watching some of his content back yesterday, even watching it live, was everybody was kind of leaning more towards the ARs. We saw some SMG gunplay, but mostly ARs. It's not uncommon, I think, especially in betas and when the game comes out, people definitely try the ARs first before they get confidence to chow with a sub. But I guess my big question is always around this is, are the ARs too OP? Do we need a little bit of weapon balance to make other guns viable? Again, it's kind of hard to answer this question watching the beta without really seeing fully upgraded SMGs and ARs and sort of the balance of how it plays once everybody's had their hands on it for a couple of days. I think then sort of the biggest thing, before getting to some of the smaller gunplay topics, is the TTK seems okay. It's time to kill. It does seem a little bit more on the high end though, I will say, in terms of quickness. It's not like a super low Halo style TTK, which is okay. I think my biggest sort of key around that though is we're playing these matches on fairly local servers. I'm very curious how that's going to feel once we get more online play. When I start getting on today and tomorrow and we start playing online servers, I start queuing up with people like Zuma, who's across the United States from me, and we play on servers maybe West Coast based or the Midwest, on that 30, 40, 50 ping. How does that gunplay feel? Does it play too quick? Do I feel like I'm getting cameraed? We'll see how that unfolds over the next couple of days. Another key thing you're going to notice as you watch some of this footage is obviously slide canceling is no longer a thing. I think we're all happy that that is gone. The new mechanic, I think everybody's going to kind of learn to sort of master, though they've kind of already mastered it, but it's going to, I think, be a pretty dominant 1v1 type of chow, is going to be the jump shot B-hop. We've seen that a lot in past Call of Duty games, but I think without slide canceling, if you're trying to camera someone, if you're trying to chow someone in a gunfight that's not really a high percentage win for you, definitely going to see a lot more jump shots, B-hops. I think a couple other gunplay things I'm looking forward to. Last year, especially at the end of the year, pistols seemed pretty good on the competitive level. I would be curious to see if we get some good pistol gameplay in this beta as we all progress through the levels and get to the level caps. Again, OP pistols can be kind of a problem in pubs, kind of a problem in competitive. Curious to see if any are a little bit broken, need to be tuned before the final game comes out. Another little thing, but definitely can be a little bit of a spoiler for game experience, is nades. How do the stuns and flashes feel? Are they a little too OP? Do they feel just right? How do some of the different lethal nades feel? Do they feel a little bit too overpowered? Nade balance is important, so it's not just nade spam off of spawn. We've seen in past games like a World War II how hard it is when you don't have trophies on the map. So curious to see how that plays out in the beta, if they need to make some tweaks before the game comes out in October. One kind of final gameplay thing I noticed around the gunplay, if you watch sort of the footage here with Tommy sort of sitting on this head glitch, is you see that very slightly there's a little bit of swing on the red dot. This is supposed to, I think, be kind of a little bit of a realistic feel, right? If you're holding a gun, you're breathing, you're moving, so that red dot that's sitting in the middle of the site's not always going to be centered. It's going to be momentum based. They've kind of replicated that now in the game, and I'm curious how it plays out. Talking to some people that played the game prior to this release and some people that also played it yesterday, they were saying it definitely could be a little bit distracting. So I'm curious if they tune it at all throughout the weekend, maybe in later builds of the game, because keep in mind the beta is not the most up-to-date build of this game in development right now. If they've sort of maybe tuned it a little bit, but one to watch if people complain over the next couple of days. Next we're going to talk about here is snipers, as we watch some footage of Crim6 dying over to guy with a recorder. How are snipers balanced? Does auto aim make them too OP? Are they viable for competitive? Are the attachments too good? Curious to see as we unlock more snipers throughout the weekend and next weekend, how they feel over the course of some of the other guns in some of these modes, especially in search and destroy non-respawn based game modes. So let's talk about some of the other categories here. Next one up is maps. This one's going to be hard to answer in the beta because I think we'll only get a limited set of maps. But as always, this really makes or breaks a Call of Duty. The amount of maps, especially ones that are fun for pubs, as well ones that are good for competitive. We'll see how many maps we get in this beta across both weekends. But my big question is how many are viable for competitive? How many are viable for all 3 or 2 game modes in competitive? Again, I don't think we're gonna get the answer for that this weekend, but we might find 1 or 2 that are a good fit when the game comes out. And I think a big part of that fun factor, and where I struggled with like Modern Warfare 2019 with those maps, is sort of the verticality of some of the maps in Modern Warfare 19. I think they felt like a little bit too many levels, too many windows. At least watching this this map, the museum map, some of the other ones they were playing yesterday. There was some verticality, but it didn't feel like too many windows again. It did feel a little bit fun to play. Curious if we get any more maps throughout the beta, especially some of the ground war maps, what their design philosophy is like. We're all used to the 3-lane map. I like them sometimes maybe doing a little bit of a slight twist on that. But again, fun, replayable maps are key. You can have great gunplay, but if the maps suck, it's not going to be a great Call of Duty. So something I'm looking for, and we'll give you my reaction on as I start to play the game today. All right, let's talk a little bit about spawns. That's sort of the next category. Again, one, like the maps, I think will be hard to answer this weekend. Based on some of the preliminary sort of reactions we saw yesterday, it seems like there is a little bit of squad spawn logic in this game. I'm not surprised again because Warzone 2 is being sort of developed with the same engine, the same movement and feel. So I'm not surprised at the logic. It's sort of similar in that aspect. Again, just curious though how it influences the overall logic of spawns, because there are going to be times where your whole squad is dead. So you're going to have to spawn up somewhere on the map. Again, 6v6 might be a little bit tricky to feel how that works for 4v4. But as long as the spawn logic makes sense to an extent, and games like Modern Warfare 2019 and Vanguard had this huge problem where there's just a variability in predicting where people would spawn, and that made the game hard to play. We can always hope and pray we get something like Cold War, where out of the box that game, and it had a few tweaks that need to be made on some maps with spawns, but out of the box, the logic felt like pretty easy to understand and pick up, and that usually leads to better gameplay and better flow for the spectator and the ones playing. So hoping we get some of that. And look, I expect some bugs with spawns. It's a beta, guys. Some stuff's not going to work, but again, seeing that the logic makes sense before the full game comes out. And then even once the game comes out, I'm sure there'll be issues as well. As we get towards sort of a week or two after launch, that it feels sort of predictable is what I'm hoping we get. I don't know if we'll get it, but that's what I would like to see. Cool, so let's talk about the next category, which is all the customization. So field upgrades, perks, attachments. One of the nice things we've gotten, if you watch the Gunsmith 2.0 video, is it seems like they've improved sort of the leveling up with attachments, especially within a weapon category. You just got to unlock those attachments once. You don't got to do it for every gun, which is great. That was the worst part about pubs, bro. Leveling up attachments on guns that I didn't want to use to get camos. So I'm glad that they've gone ahead and fixed that. But my biggest thing is there's a lot of attachments. So we're going to see how this plays out. I definitely personally maybe a little more sympathetic to sort of the older school, simple, give me pick 10, simple attachments, but they like this level of customization. It seems like you maybe switch categories with some of the guns. Let's see how the beta unfolds. We get towards the higher level caps. Are there OP attachments? Does the customization kind of work out the way it should? Looking forward to see how that plays out. Looking at perks. So this game's a little bit interesting with perks. You get 2 off the bat, and then you earn 2 perks as the game goes on. This is gonna have some really interesting implications for competitive, especially as you get towards the end of maps. As always with perks, curious to see which ones are OP and which ones are like crutch perks that you have to run. Are there any situational perks that will be good for certain game modes? That level of metagaming and customization is key. So I'm curious to see how it works in practice, and obviously are any perks OP and are going to get restricted for competitive. So kill streaks and score streaks are a little bit interesting. If you see here as we're watching this video, you can kind of toggle between score streaks and kill streaks. So that's a interesting wrinkle we've never seen in COD. Usually one or the other, and the fact that you can do 2 is pretty cool. You know, the kill streaks have not been great, I would say, for the last 4 or 5 CODs in terms of competitive. We haven't really had a lot of really good variety on that front. So curious to see from a competitive standpoint how some of these kill streaks / score streaks play out. Are they viable? Again, for pubs as well, does it make it fun, or do I just join a pub and then I get chopper gunnered and it's not fun? So we'll see how these play out in practice, but a thing I'm looking forward to progressing and unlocking as we go through the next couple of weekends. All right, let's talk about field upgrades. First thing is, you guys notice it is locked here, but Dead Silence is going to be a field upgrade in this game. Obviously, the devs don't really want to seem to move on that, so it is what it is. Trophy system, a couple of other kind of interesting ones here. I really like the tactical camera potentially. We'll see if that has a place in competitive or if that gets GA'd. There's also this sort of decoy mine thing that was pretty interesting to watch in play yesterday. Again, curious to see how some of these play out. Are they a little too OP? Are they broken? Do they feel viable for competitive? Obviously, Dead Silence is going to be used a lot in search, but trophies are definitely going to be played in respawn game modes. We'll see if some of these are viable in competitive builds, but looking forward to trying most of these, as many as I can during the beta. All right, guys, so this final category I call other game features / potential roadblocks. I want to talk about things that are either new features or I think potential problems that they may need to resolve before the final game comes out. I think the first thing here is, you guys have watched some of these clips, is sneaking is back. Once again, obviously in the competitive world, it is snake or be snake these days, but looking to see if the developers can address this as a known issue, see if they're going to do anything to fix this for the final game. It obviously sucks in pubs to watch people snake, but hopefully they look into this and maybe add a little bit more of a cooldown. Or does some of the other fixes that we've seen in past CODs, it sort of reduced the frequency of what you can snake. Another sort of interesting mechanic that we might need to take a look at. I saw a clip of this on Twitter. Obviously, there's a new ledge hang feature in the game, and I think that's super cool, but it seems like you can kind of snake the ledge hang a little bit. Obviously, you have a pistol in your hand, so I don't know how OP this is, but we'll see depending on how some of the maps work out. If there's some sort of like hide mechanic and this is a little too broken, maybe you can't really shoot the person if they're really going up and down the ledge. Let's see how this plays out, but one I'm kind of watching for to see if any clips appear over the next couple of days. And finally, my last thing, and this is more of a fun variety thing. They've obviously made a big deal about third person being added in the game. I think it's super cool, to be honest. Obviously not viable for competitive for a number of reasons, but if this third person game mode and hopper is kind of cool, it might be a fun change of pace for pubs. So I'm excited to see potentially the viability of this one. As always with COD, like, yeah, I like playing through the base competitive game and rule set, but sometimes you want to get on and play something different. And if this is pretty fun to play in pubs, I'm totally down for it. So let's see if they can make it work. And that's it for this video, guys. I think my final thoughts sort of watching the gameplay yesterday is it felt like the gunplay looked pretty good. The maps they played looked decently solid. At least one or two of the maps looked pretty viable for competitive. I think TTK I'm a little worried about, to be honest. I'm curious to see what it looks like when over the next couple of days we're playing online as opposed to all of these creators playing in the same facility in LA. Obviously, there could be some bugs and other issues this weekend, but it is a beta. Those are bound to happen. I'm sure we'll log on the game and there'll be server issues today. But again, they'll figure it out. That sort of happens with every release, so I'm not worried about that. The most important thing is that it is a fun game to play. So I will record some clips over the next couple of days for y'all, share my thoughts probably later in the weekend, and look forward to see if they make any changes going into second weekend of the beta, which will be on PC. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, any things you like or dislike about this game, and I'll comment on some of those and let you guys know what I think about your comment. If you like this video, smash that like button. As always, guys, make sure to follow the channel for more content, and we'll see you guys on the next one.